the gift and the game. Chosen by the gods. Long arms, huge hands, height, athleticism. These were the gifts he was given. But Giannis wasn't satisfied. He believed he could do more with the gifts he was given.
If you know anything about Kobe, there's one thing that made him transcend the sport of basketball itself. He was an icon, a childhood hero to a new generation of players who watched him growing up. Giannis, despite growing up halfway across the world, was no exception. He too looked at Kobe in admiration. But what was it like when they first met each other? Did Kobe even acknowledge him? Did he know he was going to be great? How's it going, folks? My name's Andy, and today let's talk about the short-lived but very impactful relationship between Giannis Antetokounmpo and the late Kobe Bryant. The history of Kobe's inspiration for Giannis goes all the way back when he was still a young kid in Greece. Giannis did not become interested in basketball until his teenage years, actually, and when he watched his first glimpse of basketball on TV, it featured none other than Kobe Bryant. And that's when his life changed forever. He said, quote, "The first game I watched was a Kobe game against the Celtics. The first time I watched the NBA, I grew up with Kobe. Kobe influenced my life. Looking up to him, one of the reasons I started playing basketball, one of the reasons that I'm here today." Seeing Kobe on TV for the first time, that was the moment he decided he wanted to pursue basketball for real now. And it's not like he was short on physical tools either. Giannis was a freak of nature, a body sculpted from the Greek gods, combined with a level of athleticism and speed unseen from anybody of his size. He already had all the ingredients, he just needed the right recipe to create a finished product. However, while many players who grew up in the States who participated in those prominent Nike scrimmages or AAU circuits, they usually have the opportunity to meet the NBA's biggest stars. For Giannis, he didn't have this privilege, because he was basically an unknown commodity. In fact, up until 2013, 2 months before the NBA draft, no one has even heard of him. He didn't even have Greek citizenship, or citizenship from any country. On the bright side, there were plenty of scouts who saw him play in Greece and noticed his skill. He just needed the mentorship and tutelage to tap into his tremendous potential. Unfortunately, Giannis' arrival to the NBA coincided with Kobe's downfall. In the 2014 and 2015 seasons, Kobe was basically injured for the majority of his first 2 years of Giannis' career. Because of this, they did not meet for a while. Giannis even admitted he thought Kobe had no idea who he was. He didn't get much playing time in his first 2 seasons either, so it makes sense. Plus, Kobe is not going to tune into Bucks games to watch some random kid he's never heard of. Fast forward to December 15th, 2015. Giannis and Kobe saw each other for the first time. But the game itself was a blowout, and Kobe did not acknowledge him whatsoever. He wasn't impressed, and if you know anything about Kobe, it's that he respects talent. He respects skill. He just didn't see anything in Giannis in their first encounter. This would change soon. Fast forward a few months later. It was in their second meeting later that season where they finally met each other and actually interacted. In this game in February, Giannis put on an incredible display of talent. He finished the game with 27 points on 12 of 17 shooting. Now, this performance caught Kobe's attention. It started with a conversation that Kobe had with then Bucks coach and longtime friend Jason Kidd. Kobe walked up to Kidd and told him, "Man, who is this kid? He's so gifted, and if his head is in the right place, he can be a future superstar." Keep in mind, this was before Giannis blossomed into an all-star. At this stage of his career, he was quickly rising up the ranks, but there were still plenty of holes in his game he needed to fix. Kobe saw something else though. He saw a young man ready to take the world by his hands and let everyone know he's arrived. Reportedly, after that game, this is what Kobe told him. "I said, listen man, it's just a choice you're going to have to make. If you want to be that great player, then you're going to have to make certain sacrifices and go after it. He has the physical tools, the intelligence. Now it's just a matter of believing in himself and going after it. Time's going to go by fast. You know you have the potential to be a great player, and the last thing you want to do is at the end of your career look back and say, "Oh, I wish I worked harder." Because time goes by too fast, man. Unfortunately, this would be the second and final time these two played each other on the NBA court. Kobe retired a few months later, but after this meeting with Kobe, this is all Giannis needed. His game progressed at an astronomical pace. And as he got better, the Milwaukee Bucks got better. Remember that time when Kobe was challenging people on Twitter? For Giannis, his challenge was to win MVP, which we all know he eventually fulfilled. Fast forward another year later, and it's the summer of 2018. At this point, Kobe was enjoying his retirement, but he couldn't stay away from the game. He sought an opportunity to mentor the next generation of players, and considering so many players look up to him, he was very selective in who he wanted to teach. Giannis, on the other hand, was on the rise to superstardom. He just made his first couple of All-Star appearances, and just had a season of putting up MVP caliber numbers. But the Bucks were still getting eliminated in the first round, year after year. Kobe followed his progress all season long, and by the summer, he himself reached out to Giannis personally to work out with him. When they met up for the summer workout, what Kobe witnessed shocked him. This is how he described it. "Giannis came to work out with me this summer, and he showed up 1.5 hours early. We talked for 20 minutes before we worked out, and he whips out a notepad. What the? He starts taking down notes. What about the footwork here? What about the coverage here?" And he's writing them down. After practice, same thing. He sits down and we talk for like an hour. We talked about coverages and defensive matchups that gave him problems. He just sat there and took notes. And he studied and studied, so I'm not surprised at what he's doing. He just has the mentality of he's just getting better all the time. He's just scratching the surface. The hard work paid off. Right after that summer, Giannis won MVP in the following season. He also won MVP the season after that, becoming one of only a handful of NBA players in history to win back-to-back MVPs. Perhaps the most endearing thing Kobe has told Giannis was that he reminded Kobe of himself. They both have a ton of motivation, both being students of the game and absorbing any information that could help them improve, though their personalities were quite different. For Kobe, he was stubborn, fierce, and hard-headed, always believing his decisions were correct and had a distrust of his teammates for a long time. You could even say that when he was younger, he prioritized his own individual fame and success more than his own team's, which led to that notorious feud with Shaq. Giannis was kind of like that from the start. There was a time when him and Chris Middleton used to compete for minutes, but their relationship grew over time. However, what separates him from Kobe is that Giannis is willing to listen to everyone around him. Early in his career, when Jason Kidd first got hired, and in one of his first games as coach, he benched Giannis. This was one of a few times in his career when Giannis was absolutely furious. Like, how can this random guy become coach and tell him what to do? What does this Jason Kidd guy even know? So then he looked him up online and saw that he was one of the greatest point guards of all time. A well-accomplished career that included being second all-time in assists. He won Rookie of the Year, he won an Olympic gold medal, he was an NBA champion. He had many All-NBA and All-Star team selections. So when Giannis saw his resume, he was humbled. It was this point forward when Giannis realized there's people around him who he's never heard of, but are far more accomplished than what he dreamed of. After that incident, Kidd earned his respect, and vice versa. When Kidd decided to put Giannis as the primary playmaker, it opened up his entire game. He trusted him now. Aside from the strive for greatness, this was the stark difference between a young Giannis and a young Kobe, who preferred to do things his own way. So anyway, with the advice from Kobe from that workout, plus his own work ethic, he transcended beyond what he even thought he was capable of. Eventually, the Bucks would win the championship, but unfortunately, Kobe was not around to see that. It would have been nice to see how their relationship grew over the years, but it's sad to say we'll never see that happen. When the news of his passing came out, Giannis was very hurt. He summed up how many of us felt at that moment. He always had that smile, he always had that charisma that he carried with him. I think he touched a lot of people in the world. He touched my family. He touched a lot of families who never got to meet him. It's a sad day. Anyway, that's all, folks. Now, here's a question for you. By the end of his career, do you think Giannis will surpass Kobe? Do you think he'll pass him on the all-time list? Where do you think Giannis will rank by the time he retires? It's too early to say now, but I'm kinda curious on what your opinion is. Anyway, thank you all so much for watching. Let me know your thoughts in the comments, and as always, I'll see you next time. Peace.